Thanks, Sam, and hello to everyone. So, Chapter 1 of the consultation paper looked at what is meant by the term NPOs. This was to enable an examination of which organisations' financial reports might be addressed by the project's first objective, improving the quality, transparency, and credibility of NPO financial reports. The consultation paper proposed a broad characteristics approach to describing the entities that the guidance is expected to primarily benefit. NPOs were described as organisations that deliver services for public benefit and/or direct any profit surpluses for public benefit and/or may have significant voluntary funding and grant income and/or hold and use assets for social purposes. The aim of this description was to enable a project focus on proposals that best meet the needs of the organisations with some or all of these characteristics. We asked whether you agreed with the broad characteristics proposed for describing a non-profit organisation. Now, in total, 80% of responses were in agreement with the proposals, with a further 11% of responses partially in agreement. You said that using broad characteristics was a good way of describing non-profit organisations, but there were some differences of opinion as to whether we had proposed the correct characteristics. Concerns were raised as to whether some NPOs would be inadvertently excluded and other entities inadvertently included. Some respondents also questioned whether some of the characteristics should not be seen as indicators of other characteristics rather than as characteristics in their own right. There was a strong agreement that an NPO exists for the public benefit, but there was also some disagreement as to how this should be defined. Now, as a result of this feedback, we are proposing to reduce the number of broad characteristics, with NPOs expected to demonstrate them all. Other indicators will assist in determining if an entity is an NPO, where it is not clear if these characteristics have been met. So if we look at the proposals, NPOs will be described as entities that are not controlled by government, that have the primary objective of providing goods and/or services for public benefit, and that direct profit surpluses for public benefit. Now, depending on the goods and services provided by the NPO, the section of the public that the NPO benefits could be quite limited. But where this is the case, we would expect the other indicators will need to be checked to determine if the entity can be described as an NPO. These other indicators are still under development, but may include voluntary funding and grant income, because for many NPOs, the provision and receipt of voluntary funding through donations, grants, or volunteering of services may be significant to the entity. The purpose and use of assets, because NPOs hold assets primarily to assist in delivering goods and services for public benefit and not to generate financial returns to providers of resources. And rights to financial returns and transfer of residual net assets upon dissolution, because an indicator that an entity is likely to be an NPO includes an absence of individuals having rights to financial returns and a requirement that upon dissolution of the entity, any residual net assets have to be transferred to an entity with a similar purpose.